Intentional jazz hands. These are intentional. This isn't me feeling awkward. This isn't me not knowing what to do with myself. This is me being like, oh my gosh, it's Delightful Lore, day 8. And day 8 just feels really good. Like, we're so close to the end. And I'm very excited about the end. I'm excited about the whole thing, but crazy to me, this whole process. Crazy to me that, like, way back in the summer when Delightful Advent grew here, started in my head, and then all of the practical work, and now we're kind of almost done. Like, months, guys, months of like a million different, this is like a creative buffet. I feel like we've got a little bit of everything we've been doing since August, like down to, washing fleece to making YouTube videos to, like, this is wild. Like, it's just everywhere and I love it. So I'm very excited. And excitement gets jazz hands and circle claps. It's just how we're gonna release it right now. Feel free to circle clap along. Feels great. Feels great. Okay, now that that's out of the way, hi, it's Melly from Melly Knits. And if you're new here, basically together with my husband, we run a side hustle that's gone a bit wild, where we go get raw wool, we wash it, and we get it out to the spinners. So that's essentially what we do. And we work with all kinds of breeds in all kinds of conditions. And so it's actually a super good gig because we're basically just doing the same thing all the time, but because the actual fleeces are so unique, I feel like Melly Knits always has this like fresh new thing to experience, this brand new cool interest. So really, it's like a super awesome gig in that I don't have to, I don't have to do much in regards to, I clean it and I show it off, but the wool speaks for itself. The wool sings and dances all on its own. I don't have to sing and dance for the wool. I just get to put it on stage, I guess. Is that a weird analogy? Maybe, but I can't re-record these things, so here we are. Anyway, this year we did an Advent, first ever. We called it Delightful, and it is 12 days, 6 fine wool breeds, 6 exotics, wools from all around the world, and it went out to the spinners, and we've been spinning through it, and now we are at day 8. That was maybe my longest introduction. Okay, so we're just gonna get right down to it. First thing I wanna show you is day 7. So day 7, I waxed poetic about the burn pile. Interesting, this one was, and here's the funny thing, I talked a lot about the burn pile. I talked a lot about what I liked, or how I find the burn pile and how I started with the burn pile. I didn't actually talk about processing the fleece or carding it, which is what I like to try and do in these videos. So that's gonna happen in this video. We're gonna talk about that. So this was day 7. This is burn pile wool from Bellingham, Washington, mysterious origins, lovely to spin, very different than what we've been spinning. This one is matte, like there is absolutely zero luster in this fleece, and it's super boinky. If I open this up, it's like boing, boing, boing. Could be the way I spin. I'm sort of a long draw woolen spinner, but I mean, I've been doing that with all of them and they don't all boink like that. So there's just some fun, like who knows? Who the heck knows what's in this thing? But my goodness, is it ever pretty? So there it is, fine little crimpy lock. And now we're gonna move on to day 8, where we've taken this and blended it with an exotic. So here we go. Getting in the bag of wonder. We got the gold foil. That's our fun exotic day. And this day we blended with recycled cashmere. So I didn't actually know recycled cashmere was a thing. I was sourcing or looking to source cashmere in Canada. It's actually something we have here. Like most of the exotics we're gonna find here, we'll find like Angora and llama. We actually are the home of like Kiviet, come on, and like yaks and bisons and stuff, but bison, geese, goose. Anyway, we've got, I looked everywhere for Canadian sources. I stinking emailed like the Goat Board Association of Canada. That's a thing, by the way. And like reached out to so many different farmers. We have it here, but I couldn't get it. So hopefully for next year, I will have a supply of Canadian cashmere, which would be really cool. I've gotten Canadian cashmere before. There's this lady that I meet like parking lot meet up with in Chilliwack, who was just like brushing her goat and selling me the goat brushed off stuff. But this is something I would like to source. But anyway, what actually turned out to be pretty cool about getting this cashmere is it's recycled, and we're working with a burn pile fleece. So we named the day Reclaimed Squared. Reclaim2. And I liked the idea that we basically have like two waste products together. I don't know, it seemed a little bit romantic and fun and matchy time to me. So what I did learn about recycled cashmere is that a lot of design houses have moved to it. So like if you're gonna buy like high-end whatever, I don't buy high-end whatever, I'm literally sitting here in a SpongeBob shirt. I got Patrick Star on my shirt. But a lot of high-end design houses have moved to recycled cashmere to be more eco-friendly, because cashmere has really changed throughout the years. They've got larger herds now. They can produce it more and quicker, whereas it used to be way more luxury. It used to be just the brushings of just the cashmere goats' beards or something like that. And now they've got some herds flying around the world that are like 750,000 animals strong. They're destroying the countryside, and people are like, this is irresponsible. And so they're switching to other types of exotics to put into their stuff to make them fancy and bougie and sell them for billions of dollars. Anyway, some companies have jumped on board with recycled cashmere. You can look at it. It's a waste product in that it's either mill ends, like mill waste, or it's actually like recycled cashmere in the same way that sari silk is like recycled saris or something. I think, mostly quote me there. Same. They can actually like shred it up and reuse it. So this one is a mill waste product. This one is not broken down from cashmere items. To me, okay, comparing it to like the goat lady, the goat parking lot lady, this did feel different. This also came as like comb top. So that's always gonna feel different than a bag of down that someone has combed. Softness wise, it was good. This was like soft. This was like a beautiful cashmere product and had a longer staple than I was expecting, because sometimes cashmere can be like really short, and that's why people find it'll pill. But this one was like really nice. So happy and cool that we could get two kind of reclaimed items in one day, right? We're smiling. Okay, so I'm gonna spin this now, and I'm gonna talk to you about what it was like to process this burn pile fleece, because I did not do that in the last video. This burn pile fleece and most burn pile fleece, but I will begin by making a statement that this burn pile fleece was not as, this wasn't as much of a challenge of some of our burn pile fleeces. I think what this one was missing that the burn pile usually has is like a layer of like crust. Like the fleece is covered in like a scab. That's disgusting. But that's kind of what it looks like. Like sometimes I'll pull it out of the bag and I'll put it on the ground to shake it, and it'll actually like it sounds like nails, like someone's tick, 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 like it'll make that kind of sound because you'll drop it and it's so crusty, it's so scabby. It'll just make this terrible clicky sound. Like it's because it's hard, you know, the fleece is actually like hard. And those ones I'm always so curious. I'm like, is this going to come clean? 99% of the time they come clean. It's totally fine. This one didn't have that. These weren't crusty at all. These were just dirty. These were just classic dirt. There was no cotting. There was no matting. There was no excess of second cuts. Thank you, Amber, Northwest Shepherdess, awesome shearer. So every time she brings me fleece, I'm never dealing with like tons and tons of second cuts. This was just classic dirt. So sheep that live, imagine this, clutch your pearls everybody, outside because they're animals, or in barns, or eat and get hay everywhere, or any other number of things that you would imagine animals getting into, okay? Now for some of us who have just finished spinning all the bougie coated stuff that's been in this advent, this might have been a little shock to you. I spun mine and didn't have any VM. Whoops, land. That was the highest pitch whoops ever. Land on my lap. Because, you know, we cleaned it so well. But so processing this fleece already, I can't even say it was as hardcore as some of them have been. It really wasn't. But what will be real different about processing a burn pile fleece versus some of the other stuff that's been in this advent. And coated or not coated is sort of like, it can, like, yes, coated ones are definitely going to be cleaner always, but like New Zealand doesn't coat anything. Australia doesn't coat anything. They're all pasture animals, so they don't get as dirty as what you'll find here. Like I find there's actually regions here. Like if I get uncoated wool from, say, Vancouver Island, for whatever reason, the water is always like reddish when I'm rinsing it away. It's really interesting. And there's like different areas where you'll notice like different concentrations of stuff, or smells even, or colors. Isn't that weird? I'm like a sommelier of like wool wastewater. So it's going down the drain, I'm like, oh yes, this one was from a northern facing slope next to a river. Like I can get there now just looking at the water. I'm like, this guy had blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but so this guy, that was an offshoot. I got to get this under control because we're just flailing. I'm verbally flailing all over this video. Where was I? Talking about this fleece. Okay, so didn't have some of the classic burn pile things that we know and love. This one was just straight, pure, beautiful dirt, and a lot of it, and a lot of VM, tons. So what we do is we take the fleece outside and we shake the dickens out of it. You just gotta go violent and shake, 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 and get everything out that you can. We also have a fiber tumbler. Way too much tension. That's not enough tension. We also have a fiber tumbler, which is really, really handy. And we can just toss these things around and around and around, and Erin puts a big industrial fan on it. We try and blow everything out we can, but while it's full of while it's dirty, it's full of lanolin, and lanolin just holds on to dirt and VM like crazy. So we do what we can beforehand, but really, you're best off just getting that sucker washed. So we shake out what we can shake out, and then we divide everything into 1 pound bags, and then we start washing. That's how we do for everything, divide it into 1 pound big laundry bags, and then we get scouring. This one was pretty basic to scour. Extra rinses, you always need extra rinses because again, dirt. But let's say this had 1 or 2 extra rinses, then you dry it. Now you're dealing with the dirt and the VM. This is the point where you suddenly see really what you're dealing with, because the lanolin is gone, so there's nothing that's sticking dirt to the wool anymore or hiding it away. So what we did, and this might bother some people, I promise you I'm a very clean person, okay? But so this might seem yucky, but it's not as yucky as it might sound. Just over here in this next room, me and Erin sat and we had baskets and baskets of this wool clean, and you just literally just start picking it open. So some of you might have seen me online, like on my Instagram, I'll show where I'm like picking a fleece and feeding it right to the carder, picking and feeding. Well, those are very clean coated fleeces. We're not worrying about picking things out as we go. A fleece like this can't be done like that. There's no way, because there's way too much falling out, and there's also a lot to pick. So we sat in that room. We were 6 hours picking these 3 fleece that made up this burn pile day, where you just pick, and there's just dirt falling everywhere, to the point where when you're done, this is the part I thought might gross people out, and I go to clean up my mantle, my table, all the baseboards, the floor covered in a fine layer of dust. Now I clean it all, I'm very clean. My house is very clean. Okay, I just vacuumed and mopped last night, for instance. But I do allow it to get messy, and you can't help it when you do what we do in our home. And we just got, this one was like a dust bomb, blew up. A dust bomb blew up just right over there. It was insane how much dirt came out of this. I could start sweeping up piles on the floor, and I could have like handfuls of dirt. So that's our first step. We pick. We open up every lock and we put them back into a different basket. So now those ones are ready to card. We also don't want to feed our carder a lot of lanolin. Never lanolin. You don't want to feed your carder a lot of dirt, and just a couple of reasons. It's harder on the equipment. So like a really VME fleece, and it takes forever already. We spend a ton of time. Fleece processing, honestly, a lot of the time is spent cleaning. You're cleaning, because not only are you cleaning the fleece, but you got to clean all your equipment. You clean up between fleece. there's a ton of cleaning. So like Aaron will run a fleece. He ran a fleece last night. Then he spends 20 minutes with a vacuum and special tools, and he's laying underneath the big homie, and there's 4 drums to clean, and there's like a lot of cleaning to do. And then you can start the next fleece. But anyway, so this one, we get all the VM out that we can while, like before we go to the carder. Then you go to the carder, and it makes its first 2 passes on big homie. And that shoots out even more. Like you think you get it all. You sit for 6 hours picking wool and there's still dirt to come out. Oh, heck yeah, there is. So then the wool room gets completely covered in dirt, right? Like everywhere. It's just everywhere. We wear dust masks when we work because it's just all over the air. It gets all over the blinds. It dangles off the ceiling fan. Like it's pretty excessive. A fleece, like any burn pile fleece is like this. Like this one, I said we got away without having the crusty, but they're all dirty like that. So once we got it, the 2 passes through big homie, that's our big, huge Brother Supercard XL. Then I start taking those big bats and I tear them into, like I weigh them out into little 54-gram sections. And then I run them one more time through the Supercard, the regular one. And then that's where I get my 50-gram bats from. That by that point, by the time we've hand-picked for hours, so we've shaken it, we've washed it, hand-picking took forever, that was the longest part. Then we start running it through the carder, more dirt comes out. By the time I get it on the little carder, there's very little dirt, if any, that's coming out, because as I take those big bats that run through big homie, I grab the bat, let's pretend this is an enormous bat that just came off big homie. When I take those 50-gram pieces, I'm breaking off sections like this, I'm fanning it open, and then I fan it this way. Then I feed it to the carder. And as it's going across the tray open, I can see right through everything, and I'm going through and I'm picking this, and I'm going through and I'm picking that as it's slow motion feeding to the carder. So then by the time I pull that bat off, we're done. And then we stuck all the bats in a stack, and then eventually I split the 50s into the 225s, and voila, I'm holding a 25 in my hand. That was the processing. That's how we carded it. That's how we cleaned it. So the fact that I'm spinning this right now and there is like nothing in my lap, honestly, and if Aaron was here right now, I'd be patting him on the back too. If we had swept up collectively all the dirt that came out of this fleece, holy moly. I'm trying to think about it in like cups. How many measuring cups of dirt? Hard to quantify. Probably 3 cups just off the first picking. If I had to imagine sweeping up the piles. Another couple of cups upstairs after it came off big homie. And then here we are, voila. Blended beautifully with recycled cashmere. Okay, so that was how we processed the fleece. Geez, I hope that was interesting. I find it really interesting, but I'm also obsessed with like cleaning, and I like the challenge of taking something that's just horrendous and getting it to a point where now as I'm spinning it, I'm like, dang girl. So, okay, so then in regards to the spin, if anyone's curious, so I spun this one for the last video and it has a good draft, slightly shorter stapled than some of the stuff we've been working with. So I don't know if I've quite got the long draw like I can do with this, but something to do with this cashmere we have smoothed out. I mean, duh, it's cashmere. Something to do with this cashmere, this luxury smooth product. Look what I can do. This is just like, I could long draw this down the hall across the room. This is amazing. I am doing supported long draw. So like I have a hand right up here by my wheel. And so this isn't like a true long draw. It's just here, sometimes gripping, sometimes doing what I need it to do. But like really, so this 100%, in my opinion, improved the spin over day 7. Adding the cashmere for day 8 has like absolutely made this a beauty to spin. There's like maybe a moment or two of very mild texture. So I think my spindle homies should still be okay with this burn pile day. I am thinking of you, supported spindle homies. Because this went through the carder Yeah, 2 passes on the big homie and then 1 pass. So this was 3 times through carding. So this is looking pretty good and smooth. Drafting really, really nice. The color came out ever so slightly lighter than the first day, but that's because the cashmere that we used was white. And as far as, this is something I thought was interesting, pairings. There was 2 days in the Advent where once we got, I'll talk about that in a future video, maybe like the day 9 or 10 videos, or 11 maybe, I'll talk about like putting the actual Advent together and how that process went down, like as a whole. I think I'll talk about that. Yeah, more towards the end. But it was, one of the things I will say is that making the pairings of the exotic with the breed was really fun. And without going into detail, again, saving that for a future video, in this right next to me where I am right now, we had all the clean fleece lined up all over this room. And if you go back into my delightful Advent highlights, you'll see sort of black and whites where you can see this is the room I'm sitting in and there's fleece all lined up, baskets of fleece. And then once we had everything washed, we just took every Advent, laid it on the floor out in front, and we started making our pairings. There was only 2 that immediately we knew were going to be paired, and the rest we had to think through and consider. But so one of them was day 10. We knew immediately. That, I had that one in my head when I got the fleece chosen. I knew I was going to match it with this exotic. And one of them was this day. Once I knew I couldn't get my Canadian cashmere source and I went for the recycled, I mean, there was no other option. You're putting recycled cashmere with burn pile fleece, 100%. The poetry is way, way, way strong on that. Not only, like I said it before, they're both reclaimed items, but cashmere exudes luxury and burn pile is the opposite. That's how it sounds, right? So burn pile with cashmere. I'm like, yes, we must and we have to. Okay, is there anything else to say? I have talked about what it was like to process this burn pile fleece. I've talked about how differently it's spinning. This to me is maybe the biggest, oh, look at that. Did you see that? This to me is like the biggest spin change so far. If I could comment on one day to the next with the addition of the exotic, I think burn pile has the biggest glow up with its exotic mate than any of the other days I've spun yet so far. So that's a notable thing to say. Otherwise, oh, I hate this part because I'm gonna end. And then every time I end, I think about a thing I left behind that I didn't say. No, we're just gonna end. I'm just gonna go thinking I've said enough. Melly has used enough words to last us a good long while. Even though I'll just be back here in 2 more days with a new breed. You guys ready? Oh, we're so getting there. I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see you in 2 days with a fun new breed and a whole new topic to talk about. And love you guys so much. I'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye.